text. And I was just glad he was doing that. I don't need to smell it. Good evening. We'll start our city council meeting. Appreciate you all being here today. We have we're just missing Councilman Jimmy Hughes, but he will be here soon. And so we'll proceed. He's been somewhere where he needed to clean up a little bit, and we're going to be glad he did that. So it's been with cattle or something. So let's start if we could. We're pleased to have representing the Interfaith Council, Deanna Martin will lead us in an invocation. And then, because, as I said, they're the dynamic duo, her other half, the Mighty Martins, Tim Martin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Deanna?
First of all, on behalf of the Interfaith Council, would like to thank all of you for your service and also for your support of the Interfaith Council, and invite you to come to the National Day of Prayer Breakfast, which will be in 3 weeks on May 10th at the Gardner Center at Dixie State. So I get everything. And Gail Miller will be our featured speaker there, so that should be very good. Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank thee for these good citizens who represent us on the city council. We pray that thou will inspire them to make decisions that will be beneficial to us citizens in St. George. We thank thee for this wonderful country that we have, and we thank thee for this wonderful city, and for all of these blessings. We give thee thanks and praise in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much to the Martins. Tim, I believe, has served as the secretary, maybe secretary treasurer. Executive secretary on the Interfaith Council for, like, I don't know, a decade. Yeah, see? So anyway, who's counting? Yeah. Provides such a great service to the community. We appreciate all that you do, Tim, and please pass our gratitude back to the council for this, as well as the prayer over the city, the crop walk in November, and your cooperation with the Stations of the Cross on Good Friday. Was aware of that. We were all otherwise occupied at the Arts Festival, but one of these years we'll figure that out and try to get there too. But anyway.
What was the time again?
It's 7:30 a.m., May 10th. That's a Thursday.
Thursday morning.
And I have tickets for that, council. I've got a table, so if you want to come, let me know. All right. So, let's see. We've got a couple of other things, Adam, don't we, that's pre-agenda that I've got right here. So before we go to the printed agenda, we have with us, let's see, first of all, we have from the Utah Local Governments Trust. Let's see, is it Brent? Right? Brent, is it I can't read. Colson?
Okeson.
Oh, there we go. When I have my glasses on, I can read. Isn't that weird? So Brent has something to present to us today, and we'd appreciate you being down here.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, everybody. I'm Brent Okeson, and for those that don't know what the trust is, we're an insurance mutual where we insure over 500 different entities throughout the state, with St. George being one of those members of the trust. And so we're grateful to be able to partner with you guys on these programs that we have. And this past year, St. George City was able to qualify for our Trust Accountability Program Award. And what this means is it's a program that helps an organization reduce their losses and their claims and prevents accidents and injury. It has policies and procedures that the organization's put in place and different programs that help to enable that. And Annette Johnson here at the city, the risk manager, did a great job on that this past year, making sure that everything was in place. And St. George had a really good year this past year on those things. So With that, the organizations that do this, they have lower losses on average, and so that's why we help to partner with the cities on doing this. But I have this nice award that I'll leave with you today that you can be proud of and show. It's the Trust Accountability Award for 2017. And with that, we send a check out for 5% of your liability premium that comes with it. So the amount was $5,455.45 that we sent out earlier this year. And so there's some good incentives there. Also, being that it's your first time doing this, you get a 1.5% discount on your work comp premium. And if you do it up for 3 years or more in a row, you get up to 4.5% discount. And so there's some good benefits from doing this. And it's just a win-win for everybody. It's great for the community, it's great for the city and everybody involved. So just like to congratulate St. George City, and I'll leave you with this award today. Congratulations.
Thank you. Would you give that
Yep.
to Christina?
Yep.
And then maybe she'll give that check to Adam. But that's wonderful. We appreciate the trust, appreciate all you do. We also appreciate your close relationship with the League of Cities. And in fact, we spend, especially during the session, we have, well, actually, everything but the session. We have our meetings typically at their offices in North Salt Lake. It's convenient for a lot of people. It's right off the freeway, and so we appreciate your hospitality. Please pass that along and our gratitude back to Steve Hansen
Steve, you bet.
and the rest of your team.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Brent.
Yep.
And we will pass along the congratulations to Annette, who we know really does the work. So thank you. All right. Next, we have with us from Youth Futures, we have, let's see, Carrie and Krista are here, and they're going to just talk a little bit about, and Chris Nelson is here to talk a little bit about what's going on just a couple blocks down the road.
Hello, my name is Krista. I'm the program manager of Youth Futures.
And I'm Carrie, the case manager.
I'm Chris Nelson. I'm on the board.
And we just wanted to come and introduce ourselves to you and let you know that we are here. And we are very eager to be a part of the community. We're very close to getting our doors open. And we would very much like to invite you all down to visit the shelter. And we can either arrange a time when you can all come together for a tour, or if you want to just trickle in when you have time. I know you all have busy schedules. But we would very much like to tell you about our program in detail. We're really excited to be here. And we know that there is a great need in this community for our services. And so we're anxious to let you know what we're doing for the community.
So, can you tell us just a little bit about how you will be funded?
So our funding comes from a variety of sources. We have a large federal grant. We have some state money. We have private donors, private grants. There's ongoing fundraising going on. Carrie and I are also working to just get our name out there in the community. We will be community supported, especially with those in-kind donations. So we have a couple of Eagle Scouts right now working on some projects, a couple of church and social groups doing some donation drives. So it comes from a variety of sources.
Good. What's that? And
Annual fundraisers.
annual fundraisers.
So are you going to explain shortly here what you guys do? Because I don't think a lot of people know.
Yes,
I'm
so we are
privileged
a
to
homeless
already know.
shelter for youth ages 12 to 17 and some 18-year-olds on a conditional basis. We provide temporary overnight shelter. We will open with 10 beds. We don't take permanent custody of the kids. Our job is to get them into a permanent housing situation as soon as possible. That being said, they don't have a time limit on how long they can stay with us. We take each kid on a case-by-case basis and help them to, meet whatever needs they have. We also have daytime services, so we'll be able to serve more than 10 kids at a time through our drop-in services, which include meals, showers, laundry, access to our pantry, our resource room, which is filled with school clothes and school supplies and hygiene items, as well as intensive case management, which is Carrie.
it was a good question, Joe. Anything else you want to tell us in kind of this?
Well, like I said, we'd like to give you, I
Setting.
don't want to take up all your time, but we would like to give you a tour and a lot of detail. Most of the reaction that we've gotten from the community has been positive. They recognize that there's a need and they've been welcoming. Some people, though, have heard homeless kids and they think in trouble kids. And so we want to kind of clarify, we're not a treatment facility. We're not a group home. We're a place to meet the basic needs of kids whose needs are not being met.
Very good. Well, I know that you're working through a few things with the city so that you can get open, hopefully, target date.
You know what? We stopped giving target dates because we kept missing our targets.
We
But,
appreciate that.
yeah.
We
A
resemble
couple of
that.
weeks, we are, well, little things are coming together every day. We have a couple of big projects still in front of us, but we're very close.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm looking at you. You said you were going to come to our housewarming party, and you didn't make it. So make sure you come and see what we're doing.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
on Easter weekend, so
I
it
know.
ended up being
and
a
it was the
problem
art
for me.
festival. It was a tough weekend, so
Yeah.
I totally understand. But
It was-
I really would love if you could come and see what we're doing.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, good. Thank
Any
you.
other questions we can answer
Ed,
real
did
quick?
you have a
No,
question?
just a comment, Mayor, that starting with 10 beds is a great start for something that's really needed throughout the county. So thank you very much.
Certainly. Thank you for having
Sounds
us. We
good.
appreciate your time.
We'll see you soon. Okay. Very good. Have there been any changes, additions to the agenda, Adam?
Nope, there haven't.
Then I think, unless there's anything else, am I missing anything else? I think we got all the pre-agenda items taken care of. Just a note, council, remember next week there will be no city council work meeting because the League of Cities is in town. Actually, the Association of Counties is here Monday through Wednesday, and then the league starts kind of Wednesday afternoon, but really officially Wednesday night and then Thursday, Friday. So I think those of you that are able to come to some parts of that have already made that known to Christina. So, but that's why we won't be meeting next Thursday night. Maybe take care of this now. We do have a need, and just because of timing, we have a need to be able to have one work meeting agenda item on May 3rd, if we could. And so we're just trying to see what the best timing to do that would be for you, whether we tack it on to the end of the meeting or if we meet early. It's on the, I can tell you the item is on, Jimmy and Betty, you're aware of this, the Springdale to St. George or vice versa transit line. We've got to have some discussion about that and some presentation by the MPO so that you are aware and you can give us your initial thoughts about that before May 10th when the commissioners, the UDOT commissioners, consider some potential funding for that transit route. So what do you prefer? Prior? And we'd probably need to start at 4.
I would think so.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ed, sound okay? We don't want to confuse you with these weird meeting times, but we do need to get that done, and we can't do it next week. So 4 p.m. May 3rd, we'll make sure that we remind you. All right, let's do it. And
Okay, sounds good.
and Adam, if you want, I'll reach out to Myron Lee.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, either way.
And we'll have him come present. He's been working on that spreadsheet that we were playing with was it yesterday? Just yesterday at the MPO meeting. So it's good information and even better now because they've been refining some of this. Okay, Adam, you want to walk us through the agenda?
Let's do this. Item 1's a really big one for us tonight. We've got Scott Taylor, our water director, here to provide some background. While he comes up, I'll just give you a little bit of information here. This is phase 1 of our wastewater treatment plant expansion. This is a big project, as you can see the numbers that are there. And we'll just have Scott give a little bit more information, and then if you have any questions. But staff does have a recommendation tonight to award this bid to Alder Construction.
So we've talked about this for quite some time in work meetings and other settings, and the day's finally here that we've opened the bids. We had 3 bidders to submit bids. We went through the process back in January of pre-qualifying 5 different contractors that could bid on the project. 2 of them were busy enough that they felt like they couldn't do the project in a timely manner. So we ended up with 3 bids. The low bid, $25,265,265. The second bid was about $725,000 more than that, and then the third bid was $28,576,000. So it is a significant amount of money, but it beats the alternative of not being able to flush your toilet.
What do you
So-
think? Everyone in the audience, How many vote that we should be able to flush our toilets? I want to see it. So far, it's only about 30%. All right, that's a majority.
It is less than the engineer's estimate of the project, and it is an amount that we had budgeted for. We've been anticipating this for some time, and we're in a position that we can handle this first phase of the project.
And Scott, this is a project that we're actually paying cash for, that the city's been saving for, so the city does not have to borrow for
Yes,
this.
this first phase will be able to pay
How do you
out of
like
our
that?
reserves.
I mean, there will be, like you say, Scott, subsequent phases that we will not be paying cash for, but it's nice to be able to say that, for, because of planning ahead, we can spend $25 million on infrastructure as important as this.
And the phasing of this project, construction will take about 20 months, and our intent is that as soon as construction of phase 1 is completed, we'll be ready to just roll over into phase 2, and that'll be actually a larger project than phase 1. We're anticipating about $38 to $40 million for phase 2. So the significant amount of money that's needing to be spent in the next several years, but it's been anticipated. We know it was coming, and we're prepared for it.
Great.
All right, before the puns start,
Mayor.
is anyone ready for a motion?
Well, I was just going to, there won't be a pun, but it's money well spent. And if you haven't been to our wastewater treatment facility, it's beyond impressive. And I would move that we award the wastewater treatment plant, headworks, and UV disinfection project to Alder Construction for $25,265,265.
Second.
We have a motion by Betty and a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Again, just for the public's perspective, this isn't new to the council. Scott presented this in some detail in a work meeting some time ago. So we don't take spending $25 million and change lightly. So any other questions or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate all the work.
Next up, we'll have John Willis come and help us on this one. You're all familiar with the Tech Ridge project. This is for the site plan, landscaping, elevations, and other planning items for the first 3 buildings or phases of this project. It's a total of about 136,000 square feet of office and commercial up there. And we'll have John give us the remaining details.
So this is a request for a PD zone, and so we'll be looking at the 3 phases, the site plan for those phases, and elevations for the first building, which is Printer Logic. So this is the location. It's right in this triangle area between Knowledge Way and Tech Ridge. The current zoning on this property is open space. This is the site plan the applicant's proposing. This is Tech Ridge Drive located here. This is Knowledge Way. You have 3 phases on this particular PD. The first phase, which is Printer Logic, is approximately 52,000 square feet. The other phases, we're just looking at the site plan. Those buildings will come forward as they're ready to develop those. The site plan, we've reviewed it. It meets the landscaping and also the parking requirements for the 3 buildings. It's approximately 9.75 acres. This is a close-up of the site plan. This is the landscaping plan for the first phase. Staff's reviewed it. It does meet all of the requirements. This is, again, the landscaping plan. This is, the applicants provided several perspective drawings of the building. They are requesting an additional height. The code requires, the code permits 35 feet without specific approval through the PD. They are requesting 48 feet. And so that is an item that will have to be specifically considered as part of the city council. There are several drawings that the applicant has provided. These are kind of the plain view drawings. This is the elevation or the floor plan of the building. Again, it's a 3-story building. This is a 3D perspective drawing. This is looking towards town, and so this is looking northeast, and this is what the building will look like. This is right in front. This is Tech Ridge Drive, and so this is the visual from Tech Ridge. This is a couple, you can barely see it back here. This is what it'll look like from down below. Materials board, the applicants provided materials board. It's located on the table. I can pass that around if the council would like to look at the materials board. The applicant has also provided a flyby of the building. So this is a flyby showing the building from all the different angles that the applicant's architect has provided to the city council.
Yeah, they could have taken the scar out. Yeah, the hangar's not there either. Or Dixie Tech. You can see where the restaurant is and where Dixie Tech would be there, but looks like it ought to fit pretty nicely. There's Joe's house down there. Don't know if the audience could see that, but I'm pretty sure there was a basketball court somewhere in there.
There's
Yeah.
an internal basketball
Yeah.
court in the office building.
Look, all of the planning staff came complaining to me saying, when are we getting our basketball court
Yeah.
at
That's
City
right.
Hall? And I just, sorry, guys.
This is Tech, right? This is Tech, so.
So this is the first phase. The applicants are still working on the overall zone and development agreement. This particular applicant is anxious to get going, and so this would be subject to a development agreement, the overall development agreement. Planning Commission, they reviewed it. They recommended approval. There are the conditions in the staff report, one of which is subject to that development agreement. And that concludes staff's presentation on this item. The applicant is here and available to answer any questions.
Would the applicant like to say anything? Okay. Council, do you have questions of either John or the applicant at this time? None of this is too surprising to us because we've been in discussion for some time, but any questions?
No, a comment, Mayor, that for the public, that this is part of the large presentation that was made up on Tex Ridge recently, which will include the 60 acres, and it's going to be just the first phase of it. And the agreement that you mentioned, this will be part of that overall package when it's completed. Is that correct?
That's right. This is just the first part, and as John said, it will be subject to that development agreement that well, it's in the works right now. It will most likely be before us within the next month or so.
Great.
Month and a half. Okay. So what I'll do at this time is open the public hearing for anyone that may have come to provide input or ask questions about this item, which is number 2 on our agenda. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action or for any discussion.
I know they're anxious to get up there, and we're excited to have them up there. I will make a motion to approve the zone change for Tech Ridge Phase 1 from open space to planned development commercial on approximately 9.75 acres located up at the old airport with, subject to the development agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? That cover what we need to, Sean? Anything in terms of height?
They said later.
So is that considered part of your motion?
Yep.
Betty?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. All right, exciting. Let us know when you're ready to break ground.
How about tomorrow?
Yeah, you want to be in there tomorrow, don't you? Thank you very much.
We could
Appreciate
have
our
made
s-
a motion, John, that they allow you guys to go play basketball there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Matt, thank you for your help working with Printer Logic and in this case, Printer Logic. Okay. All right.
Next item on the agenda, item number 3, a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance amending the existing planned development commercial zone on approximately 1.50 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Pioneer Road and Sun River Parkway. So this is an amendment to a PD that the council reviewed on July 6, 2017. The applicant's come forward and is requesting some modifications to the architecture design and canopy that was already approved. And so this is where it's located, Pioneer Road, Sun River. It's the Terrible Herbst that was approved. This is the site plan that the council reviewed and approved. This is the request. You can see here on the upper of the screen, this is the canopy that was approved. They're requesting to modify the canopy to be this canopy down below, which will be metal. All the stucco will remain, stucco and stone will remain. It's the top portion that they're proposing to modify. Here's a couple perspectives of the canopy and the modification. Part of this request is also to slightly modify the materials and the colors and also the architecture. This is the current proposal, and this is what's being proposed. You can see some of the materials have changed. They have updated the materials board. It's located on the table. I also have the previous approved or the current approved materials board if the council would like to review that. So this is the change on the design and the materials. This is a few other perspective drawings of that proposal. Again, this is the new materials board. This is what was originally approved. Planning Commission reviewed it and recommended approval of the proposed changes. The applicant is here and available to answer any questions, and so is staff.
I'm sure what it comes down to is the branding of the, chevron is probably the issue.
Yep, you're correct.
Council, any questions for staff before we open the public hearing?
I have a question, but I can ask it of the applicant.
Is the applicant here? There he is. You like to make any comments first? Okay, then Ed, you want to ask your question?
It stood out to me that...
Oh, state your name for the record.
Clark Kelsey.
Clark, it stood out to me that one building that was changed had beer on the front of it. Is there a reason for advertising beer in it? Is the beer sales not for on-premise consumption, it's takeout beer? Is that...
Yeah, that's correct.
When the reason for the beer is just to promote sales for that, or what?
Yeah, that's correct.
Other questions for Clark? Okay, cool. Thank you, sir. All right, then I'll open the public hearing at this time for any who may have come to express input on this item, number 3 on our agenda.
City Council members, my name is Cameron Ferguson, resident of Sun River, St. George. I'm going to read this for one to stay within the time limit because my memory's shot now anyway. So last July, the city, as was said, approved the construction of the Terrible Herbst convenience store located on the Sun River Parkway according to the plans, colors, designs, and materials then presented. However, 6 months later, the applicants applied to the Planning Commission to change those approved plans. They now wish to eliminate the tiled mansard roof over the gas canopy, change the coloring and materials of the canopy to include blue and white metal, and as noted, to switch the signage from advertising groceries to beer and soda. The existing plans, as approved, are more consistent with the adjacent residential Sun River community. The overall colors are muted and better blend into the natural surroundings. The canopy with its sloped design feature is more aesthetically appealing, and the signage is more compatible with community standards. Now the applicants have your approval and the construction is nearing completion. They want to switch the store's appearance to what I would call tacky commercialism. Was this their original intention? Terrible Herbst has decades of history and dozens of stores throughout Las Vegas and Nevada. They must have known what their true design and intentions were before they initially applied for approval. Their assertion that the approved designs are no longer appropriate a half a year later is ludicrous. Who decided this? Was it the local investors, the Terrible Herbst Company, Chevron? I wonder if the applicant will divulge this information. The decision clearly appears to be based on profit and cost savings over aesthetics and taste. They garnered your approval for construction, and now they want to do what they must have wanted to do all along, bait and switch. We know that convenience stores sell beer, but we really want to see a beer ad as the main drawing point on the store's facade. Do we want this beer sign to be the first impression visitors have as they enter our community? Growth can be good as well as aesthetically pleasing. They're not mutually exclusive. A 68-foot hotel and a gas station contiguous to a retirement residential community is already compromising for the local citizens. But further to degrade the community with tacky commercialism is going too far. You have it with your power to preserve the integrity of the neighborhood. Please don't allow this unacceptable bait and switch. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Any other comments from the public?
City Council members, my name is Barbara McLaughlin. I also live in Sun River. And I'll read just to save time and also ditto on the memory. Terrible Herbst is aptly named. It is a terrible intrusion along with a 68-foot high hotel at the entrance to Sun River, our retirement community. I understand that you embrace economic growth, but it should not be literally at all costs, should it? You previously approved the Terrible Herbst with some aesthetic considerations. Now the applicants for this gas station and convenience store are requesting last-minute changes, removal of the tile mansard roof, tacky commercialism with brash colors and beer advertisements, which may be appropriate next to Walmart, but not next to our retirement community. I ask you, would you like this in your neighborhood? Would Darcy Stewart like it? Would you like it, Mayor Pike?
I wouldn't mind it, actually, but that's
Yeah.
just me.
All of this unbridled growth, along with tacit approval for schlocky commercialism, becomes a be careful what you wish for scenario that you should seriously consider. This runaway growth is ironically rapidly eroding all the incentives for which people move to St. George. Beautiful scenery, clean air, low crime, less traffic, lower cost of living. The beautiful red hills and moguls are now bulldozed flat for new construction. Crime is quickly ticking up. Traffic congestion is increasing at a geometric pace. And with a hugely increasing population, requirements for water stretch the imagination. The cost of the multi-billion-dollar pipeline will drive up taxes significantly. All this results in collateral damage to politics, which has implications for future political aspirations as well. Several years ago, I moved from Vermont, a state that was staunchly Republican for its entire history until the 1980s and 90s, when so-called flatlanders moved from metropolitan areas to enjoy all the same attributes for which people move here. But within a very few short years, the out-of-state citizens managed to change the entire political landscape and legislature, and Vermont quickly became the most liberal state in the country, the new homeland of socialist Bernie Sanders. In addition, Vermont then pursued an anti-business climate, and our economy then imploded. Don't naively think that this can happen here. You're rapidly working towards the same fate here in St. George, and both your lifestyle and careers, those things you hold most dear, will be at stake. So I ask you to deny this latest application for Terrible Herbst. You have inherited a precious legacy from your forefathers, along with an implicit mandate to manage growth judiciously. maintaining the vision and some semblance of aesthetics employed by your predecessors. In addition, you have the responsibility to make decisions that are in the best interest of all St. George citizens, not just the developers. And with this responsibility, it is particularly important to be mindful of those most vulnerable, the children and the elderly. We are the elderly. It is obviously now too late to deny the intrusion of Terrible Herbst altogether, but you do have the authority and the moral obligation, I believe, to maintain the scant aesthetics of the original plan. Please don't submit to this last-minute switcheroo, to tacky commercialism with all the beer signage for our retirement community. Please require that Terrible Herbst honor their original submission, which you approved, and retain some facet of appropriate architecture and aesthetics for the neighboring retirement community at Sun River. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Council members, my name is Bill Prescott. I'm also from Sun River, and I don't have a prepared statement. I just want to echo the same comments that you've just heard from Barbara McLaughlin and Cameron Ferguson. I noticed that the construction of the gas station has already been implemented under the new plan, and I was under the impression that the purpose of the meeting tonight, or the item on the agenda, was to approve. Do you allow the plan to get executed before the approval by the council? Is that the way it works? I wasn't sure. But if you go out there and look at it, the roof of the main station is the new design, not the old design, at least as far as I can tell.
I think the structure is the same, is my understanding.
It doesn't look the same if I look at the new one versus the old one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree with the comment that was made. And I have another separate topic. I would just take about 30 seconds.
It's got to be on this item.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Other input, comments from the public? Okay. Would the applicant care to make any response on any of those items?
Yes, I have to say I'm quite surprised at some of these responses, because a lot of people that I've been speaking to, whether it be in the community or, you know, even employees or people outside of the Sun River community, you know, all I've heard is you know, really great excitement that there'll be an amenity out there that people can take advantage of, not only in Sun River, but, you know, across the freeway near the airport. You know, we've got some employees that live out there, and I mean, everyone's really excited to have something located in that spot. Let me give a little background on the changes to the exterior. So this got approved last year, and as the hotel came online with those stucco colors and the style and everything, we thought it was really important that the commercial development there stayed cohesive and stayed, you know, looking as cohesive and beautiful as possible. So that was a big part of why we changed, you know, slightly. It's not a drastic change on the exterior of the building, but we really wanted those tones and colors to complement the beautiful new hotel that was just built over there. So, and then as far as the canopy, you know, we really tried to keep it with that more simple aesthetic, but it's important to the viability of the fuel station to have that Chevron branded fuel. So, and that was a hard decision, but it was important to the success of the fuel station itself. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Did they not know that before?
If you'd come up.
This is a company that has built many gas stations. They didn't know before. The hotel plans have been around for quite some time. They would have known when they first brought this application to you whether it was in keeping in their view with the rest of it. Not only that, but what we're asking about is not whether or not it should be there, because that's long gone, but the type of architecture. Do you really want a big giant cold beer sign next to our neighborhood? Would you like that in your residential neighborhood?
Well, this
I'm
is
appalled by that.
Well, this is a commercial zone. It's not.
I understand
you know,
that. Nonetheless, it is adjacent to Sun River, a
Right.
retirement community. And I'm not, and none of us here, I don't think, are objecting at this point to it being there. We're objecting to the big chevron. They did not know that before. That's really hard for me to believe. They knew that. In my heart, I know they knew that when they initially applied for this. This is a bait and switch, as Cameron Ferguson said. That's not right. And do you really want cold beer on your facade?
Okay, thank you. All right, any other input? We'll close the public hearing at this time and come back to you, council. Any other questions you have of staff or
I
just
have a
discussion?
question for the applicant. With your, with your other facilities, are they all Chevron facilities or are they different?
Most of them, yes. I represent THSR, which is the group that's a part of, Terrible Herbst. But yes, I mean, most of them are Chevron branded.
So it'd be fair to say that you should have been aware of what Chevron would want for branding.
Yes. I mean, this is new to us in the commercial side. I'm on the developer side of this, so this hasn't been perfect, and I assure you there's no ill intent here. This is complicated stuff, and it takes time, and we're working together with, the Terrible Herbst group, and we've done our best to do it as seamless as possible, but unfortunately things do change, but yeah, Chevron is what there's kind of standard branded fuel there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Betty?
If we were to insist that you go with the first architecture, what would Chevron feel about that?
It could potentially pose a problem, but it would have to get approved through Chevron.
I have to admit, I'm this is difficult because I don't agree with most of the things that Barbara had in her lengthy statement. In fact, I'm probably diametrically opposed to many of the things that she said. Most of them didn't really have to do with this particular issue. But when I sat down and looked at those, I was disappointed personally, just in the difference. Sun River is a beautiful high-end retirement area, and I would hope that we could have matched it a little better. I don't have a problem with the chevron, but I don't know, the blue and the skinny.
Are you talking specifically the canopy?
The canopy.
Okay.
And the beer. Give me a break. You don't have to have beer on there. You can do something else. And I don't have a problem with saying that we shouldn't have beer. To me, it's kind of like having Playboy. Is it Playboy? I don't even know what the name of it is anymore. Anyway, magazine at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
We as a community can set standards, and we don't have to have that. We can say, put
Okay.
it somewhere else. Like I say, I don't want to just wholeheartedly go with many of the things that have been said because I don't agree with them. But, and I have a feeling how this council will vote. But I'm personally disappointed in having a glitzy little blue thing that says Chevron in that particular place because I know how these people feel. This is private property. This is a commercial zone, and we have a right to approve this gas station, and I wholeheartedly support that. But we also can have standards that people must comply with. So,
looking at both the designs, I like the change of the stone and everything on the second design better. I like having stone on the pillars to the canopy. I'm not thrilled with the Chevron sign, and I don't know why you can't stick to ATM ice and grocery instead of ice, cold beer, and soda.
This may surprise some of you, but I'm becoming more refined as I sit next to Betty, and I agree with what she said to a T. If you look at that top picture and you look at that bottom picture, the bottom picture's ugly. I'm just going to be blunt.
tacky.
Now, I would also agree with Betty. There were some very good points made, and I want to make sure you understand there's some very good points made, but I also agree with Betty. There was some stuff there, too, that was way off base. I don't think this has anything to do with the Lake Powell pipeline, but that being said, I look at that top picture and say, could we not put the chevron and some blue below the mansard roof, and would that look okay? And really, the blue to me clashes with the rest of that building, and then I back up and I say, okay, this is private property, so what are we being asked to do? Are we really an architectural review board? And we kind of are. We're being asked to do that. And so either we say we don't, because of branding, we don't care what happens out in this area, or we've got to have some standards and we got to stick to those standards. If we go to this, then pretty much to me it's open game out there to what we allow for branding, which I understand the importance of branding, and we don't want to take businesses and tie one hand behind their back. But if we stay consistent, everybody's competing on the same level in that area. So again, the beer thing, we all know people go to the gas station, they buy beer, that's fine. We've accepted that, we do that. We do have some community standards, and there's obviously some pushback about how we advertise that, and we're a little different than Nevada. And so, we take that into consideration as a council, as well as what does our community want and what are the standards. And so I want to point that out. For me, it's a no-go.
But also, the point I was trying to make on the second design is the way they've done the stonework and different things to look better with the hotel. I agree with the chevron and stuff like that, but
You're right.
I like the second palette
You're right.
better.
Yes, for
Well,
sure, absolutely.
And the thing is, because this is PD, we get to talk about this. I don't know really of anywhere else in town in a regular commercial zone. I mean, every chevron you see, including not the chevron, but the Walmart gas station, I mean, it's pretty bright colors, and you know what it is, and that's part of the branding. So I get what they're trying to do. It's only because this is PD, really, that we're able to talk about the colors like we are, or the size of the project. That would also enable us to talk about things like this.
Well,
But
and Mayor, they did bring it one way. I think that I have to kind of agree with that, because it does fit better to me, and with a few changes, and I think Michelle is absolutely right. Maybe we should have designed it for her. Anyway, but I
no,
don't
that would be
know.
the Planning Commission's job.
Yeah,
That's true, and I don't want it.
Just
But-
kidding.
But to change it that drastically, my first question, and I didn't have to ask about, was why? Why are you doing this? Why? And then, of course, if the company said it has to match our brand or we won't come at all, I don't know that that's what they're saying. And if that's the case, I think we...
Do you think that if you go back to them and say, nope, the city council said we have to go with the first canopy, they can incorporate the Chevron logo somewhere where it's not as stark and metal, and keep the signs on the building in the first drawing, and do the stonework and the stucco and stuff in the second drawing? Do I have you totally confused?
No, not at all. So we actually worked through a few different styles, kind of similar to what you're talking about, and worked with the operator, and we truly did the best we could with trying to appease, trying to stick with that similar design. But, the operators told us that's really important to the viability of the business, to have people recognize that blue chevron color, and that's how they find it. So
I'd like to offer a compromise. The top picture shown there with the chevron on one end, but the end that faces the freeway.
Okay.
That's who they're trying to get the chevron, people to see the chevron, but not facing Sun River. Do you think something like that would fly?
Yeah, we could try it.
I can see the idea behind having the chevron there, but you really don't need it on the Sun River side. You're trying to draw those people off the freeway with that chevron sign. So that could be a compromise. I don't know.
I don't know. I think council, to me, it would be interesting to see another attempt, from what I'm hearing, that would possibly reflect some of these thoughts. I think Michelle's point is really good. I actually like most of the changes, especially the canopy stone, as she mentioned. I think the look overall is nice, but I don't know what our options are if we, Sean, in terms of legally, what's the best way to handle it in terms of, I mean, it's PD, so I mean, we could, I guess, just either deny it, we could table it, we could approve it, you know, but what would be the best thing to reflect what we're hearing from the council?
Well, you can make whatever change that you would like to that original.
But until we can see it, you know,
it makes it difficult
Yeah.
to determine whether Councilman Bocuts would work, his idea would work, or they would feel comfortable with that. But I think you understand the general direction they're going, which is to incorporate, if you want, incorporate the Chevron logo somehow into that canopy of the top one. Is that right?
I mean, that's what I'd like to see if the blue could be done away with, frankly.
And again, I mean, we tried that with the operators, and we went through a few different revisions and kind of worked with John and showed a few different things. And I mean, I'm happy to go back to the owner and address this again. I mean,
the question's going to be, I mean, if you were to tell them, I mean, the council could just deny it, you know, and they may do that. And then you'd have to go back to them, and
absolutely.
And I realize that puts you in a spot because you've got an agreement pending, I'm sure, you know. And so, Sean,
I was going to say this is not the first time that we've run up against this. Probably the most difficult one was with the McDonald's rebuild on the boulevard, and all of these large corporations understand that if there's a law that requires them to comply with the signage, whether it's the colors of the logo or whatever, they in that case they will say, okay, we'll do it. But if the law doesn't require it, then we won't do it.
they go to their default.
So I think in this case, I don't think we're in a situation where they're really going to say you can't be a Chevron then, because you're not going to do the exact canopy we want. Because that's what we found, is that they'll say, show us, when we're dealing with their corporate, show us where you have the authority to do this, and we show that to them. In some cases we've been able to say, no, we don't, and they say, okay, then we're going to do the sign with our colors the way we want to do them.
Sean, there's no time frame. In other words, if this were to be denied, they could come back again anytime. Is that correct?
That's correct. No.
Because of the situation.
No, you have the option though of tabling if they wish to come back and come up with a new design as well. So you don't have to have the denial there if you're not ready to say absolutely not. We're willing to look at something.
But I think, Clark, some of that is, I mean, the council's going to make whatever decision they decide to make, but I'm not sure what is more helpful to you. It might be more helpful to you, and with what we've experienced previously, for you to take back the message that this was denied. Now we know what the input is, and then you could work with them and with staff to bring something back that you think would comply with the wishes of the council were they to deny it. And then, you know, I don't know, I've just seen this too. I've seen this before. I don't necessarily think that we want to be like, you know, we don't want to be business unfriendly, and that's what this council is, I think, struggling with. We don't want to be business unfriendly, but we do think, on the other hand, there's probably a way, and they do it lots of other places, I'm sure, in places that have such restrictive standards that it would never allow that lower rendering. You know, I'm sure there are places like that. Try Park City, even. You know, Sedona. I'm sure they're in other places that would be like that. We're not necessarily trying to be like that, but on the same token, it is it's the front door to Sun River, and it's the front door to St. George. And I think you've heard input on the signage, not just Chevron, but the other signage. So I don't know, council, it's up to you, but I see, based on what I'm hearing from you, there are those kind of two options, a table or a denial, and you could come back at any time with another attempt.
Another comment on it. We've seen A and B. There may be C and D.
Absolutely.
You know, that they could come back with, rather than just, this is a very drastic change between those two.
The Planning Commission has made a recommendation. They wouldn't necessarily need to go back through Planning Commission, would they?
No.
so we could save you a little time there.
Okay.
Council, I'd entertain a motion if you're so inclined.
Could I just say one more thing? It's the tile roof that I really like instead of the industrial flat. Because that wasn't really mentioned.
The
It's not
mansard.
even the blue that I,
Yeah.
yeah, the mansard.
mansard.
You could put that blue chevron right up there in the whatever that soffit or whatever that's called, and that would be fine too. But just it would look more high-end, residential, just a little more. So anyway.
If you want to, as Sean said, you can get specific like that, and you could say, we would approve it if.
Well,
Sean?
Yeah, Mayor, I think there's some wisdom in your denial, in that they can take it back to the corporate and say, this is what we were approved for, they don't like this look, and you can make another run at it with the input that you've received from the council tonight.
I'd rather see that than pick one we haven't seen.
Yeah, that's
We
my
haven't seen
concern.
that roof line with the blue on it.
That's my concern.
Yeah, I'd rather see a rendering of it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion if you're ready, Mayor.
Ready?
That we deny item 3, the zone change amendment to the Terrible Herbst PDC plan development commercial, specifically the canopy.
Second.
Before we do that, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Oh,
I thought you
I
said you were
did.
ready.
No, I did close
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, I did close it.
no, Christina didn't get it.
I did close
You
it.
did.
Yep, I did close it. Now that I think about it. So Jimmy's motion,
Second.
second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Clark, if you will work with staff, that might be a good way to speed it along, and we'll get you on the soonest agenda that we can. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, next up, we are 3/4 of the way through our fiscal year, and we've got a number of amendments that are proposed, and we're going to ask Deanna Berklasich, our budget manager, to come and review those with you.
Hello. Yes, as Adam said, we are now 3/4 of the way through our fiscal year, and we are undergoing the budgeting process for fiscal year 19. And so that gives our departments a really good opportunity to review their budgets, see where they're at, and make a determination if they have any amendments that they'd like to propose. And they have, and I have a list of 7 to just quickly review with you. Item number 1 is approximately a $30,000 budget opening to increase the tennis and pickleball budgeted revenues and the associated expenditures, basically due to increased participation. They've had more popularity with their tournaments, which also creates the need for more professional services, referees, supplies, T-shirts, things of that nature. Item number 2 is an increase of $20,000 for the softball leagues and tournaments. Again, they've had participation higher than they anticipated, and so along with that $20,000 increase in revenues, we're looking at an increase, small increase in overtime, subscriptions and memberships, special departmental supplies, concessions, team registration fees that we pay to the sanctioning bodies for those types of events. Item number 3 is to budget for our city manager's retirement, Gary Esplin, and that also there was an overlap when Adam started, and we also had some office furnishings and computers that we needed, a computer that we needed to purchase for the new city manager. And so combined with the overlap and the retirement and so forth, it's about $157,700 that we're asking to increase the city manager department budget. The next item, number 4, is Southgate and Sunbrook Golf Course. Their pro shops have had to purchase merchandise for resale, and so they're just asking for $7,000 for Southgate, $5,000 for Sunbrook, and with an offsetting revenue source of merchandise sales. Item number 5 is for $29,000, again for Southgate Golf Course. They had been approved for carpeting in their pro shop. It came in a little bit more than budgeted. And then they also had a water line that broke. It was beneath the riprap in the river. And that did take some time to actually bring a contractor in and correct that problem. So that was a little more expensive than we would have anticipated. It was unforeseen, and that's $25,000. So combined, that's a $29,000 budget opening. Item number 6, this is for the Sunset Park Phase 2 expansion. When the bids were awarded, we recognized that the bid exceeded the budgeted amount, and staff was asked to go back and find projects that they could substitute, which they've done there to accommodate the additional $510,000. Item number 7 is through our CDBG program, we were able to identify a public infrastructure project for the city water department to replace some water lines in downtown, in the downtown area for $450,000. And we do anticipate this project will overlap into the next fiscal year, but we're going to use as much of that $450,000 this current year. And then next year, we'll probably come back and amend the budget for the remaining balance that has not been accomplished. So that is going to be a longer-term project.
So, Deanna, so we had that money in the CDBG fund?
We do.
Okay.
It's from carryover from years past.
Previous years.
They have to use a certain percentage on public infrastructure, and so sometimes that can build up, and then we can use it for a larger project before it expires.
And this doesn't, because it's excess essentially, it doesn't necessarily impact too much, but other potential projects that we might approve?
Right. Not other potential projects. We've actually got some in our next year's budget for public infrastructure, but they can only use so much of a percentage towards non-infrastructure projects, towards programs and community programs. They can only use a certain percentage, and then this public infrastructure, stays aside. So they're not taking away from any community programs.
Very good, thank you.
In this case.
That's what I wanted to know.
I have a question on number 4.
Number 4, yes.
So do we already have in budget a given amount?
We do.
Okay, so this is just an increase to that budget. Then my second question is, when we account for this, we account for those those goods sold as a separate revenue source. We don't lump it together with the whole golf course.
No, we have a separate line item for cost of goods sold and also merchandise sales. So we see the revenues, we see the expenditures. The same with Pro Shop, snack bars, separate revenue or separate line items. Yes.
Good question. Thanks, Joe. Okay. Was that it? That was
That's
it.
it. It's
Yeah.
a short and sweet one this time.
Any questions, other questions for Deanna before we open the public hearing?
Good improvements, very good report.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll open the public hearing at this time for anyone that may have come to offer input on this item 4 on our agenda today. Yes, sir. Douglas.
Yes, sir. Doug Solstad. I didn't come for this. I just had a question as I was hearing this. If I heard correctly, item 3, the overlap of the city manager, was that 157,000?
Yes.
Is that?
That's not the whole overlap.
That's not the whole overlap?
No, what it is
What in the world was 157,000 from having 2 employees at the same time?
It wasn't. That was only part of it. But he had built up saving or vacation, sick leave.
Sure.
So all of that was part of it. There's also FICA, retirement benefits, and as she mentioned, equipment that we had to purchase as part of that. So yeah, it was, it was the full-time wages portion was 131,000.
Wow.
And so that's what.
Okay.
It's combination.
He should have taken more vacation.
That's a benefit. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and it's done and over, and I'm sure it was appropriate to pay at the time, but that seemed like a big number for a relatively, I would say, short overlap.
Yeah, the overlap was very short.
Yeah.
It was really his paid leave, unpaid sick leave and vacation leave that had been earned over 41 years.
Yeah, keep in mind it was 41 years of stacking that up.
Very good.
And the guy was never sick.
No.
At least that's what he told us.
Thank you.
He looked sick sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other clarifications, Deanna? Okay.
And with the looks of Adam, He's young and strong and healthy. We should go high expectations at him.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the amendments to the fiscal year 2017-18 budget.
First, I'm going to close the public hearing,
Sorry.
but go ahead. I think you made a good motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Betty with a second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Betty this time again, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Deanna, thank you for making that so clear and concise where the money's coming from, where it's going, not only for us, but for the public to be able to see where that money's coming from, where it's going, and all those line items. Thank you.
Great.
Very good report.
Okay, next. Is this Sean's?
Mayor, this next item is an incentive agreement with Ram Pro, which we also know as Ramco, in the Mill Creek Community Development Area. This is something that's been discussed with the council before. In fact, when we created the area, this was one of the businesses that we knew was going to expand. And so we were offering them a tax incentive. As you know, they do unique they develop new unique products for the aerospace industry that they could relocate anywhere in the country, especially in those areas like Houston or LA where the aerospace industry is based, but they've chosen to stay here in St. George, and this was an incentive to get them to stay here. They're making an investment of approximately $11 million at the property and creating 38 additional jobs, and as you know, they're good jobs at Ramco. And this incentive is for 10 years, and it's the base tax year will be 2016. So they'll receive the difference, the increment in value from the base tax year of 2016 for those 10 full tax years. And it's similar to the other incentive agreements that we've done. As you know, with these manufacturing agreements, it's either expanding a manufacturer that's here or bringing someone in that isn't competing with someone that's already here. So this follows those guidelines that you've set forth before years ago, and we think it's a good deal for the city.
I have a question on that, Sean. So whatever that tax rate was at 2016, whatever that payment was.
Tax base.
Tax base, I'm sorry. Then they continue to pay that, but they don't, then we refund part of that.
That's right.
to-
That's right.
Okay.
The increment.
The increment. That's right.
The increase. The increment messes me up too.
Sorry.
Big word for me.
Sorry, increase.
Attorney speak.
So we'll-
Yeah, Mayor, I would just add to what Sean said, that they have the ability to locate anywhere in this country, but in any other major economic country in the world is asking that they locate there if they want to do business with them. So I think it's great that they want to stay here in St. George.
It's kind of unique, isn't it, that they've said that some of the products they produce here in St. George have been in space. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think their biggest client is SpaceX. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
A very solid manufacturing base for our community. So
And they've had a long relationship. I mean, they were infant when they started.
42 years, I
The
believe.
city has been good to them, and they've been good to the city. So
Yep.
it's a
Win-win. Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
One other, that you will see this again on your
Yep.
neighborhood redevelopment agency.
Ready for a motion if you are. This doesn't require a public hearing.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, that we approve an incentive agreement between this neighborhood redevelopment agency and the city of St. George and the Ram Pro LC.
Second.
Motion by Ed with the second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Michelle, say aye.
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 See, there we go. Kept everybody awake. Did great. Motion carries unanimously. John.
Next item on the agenda, item number 6, consider approval of a conditional use permit to allow a tattoo shop to be operated at 344 East Sunland Drive. So this is the location. This is Sunland Drive. There's suites that are along Sunland, and some suites that are behind. The request is for one of the suites behind to be a tattoo shop and art gallery. In a C3 zoning, it's a conditional use permit. Thus, the applicant has submitted This is showing the suite they're going to be located in. This is the floor plan, approximately 800 square feet. This is what it looked like. This is some pictures that was provided by the applicant. Again, a close-up, about 800 square feet. There's a lobby with 3 stations. Planning Commission reviewed it. They looked at all of the conditions that were provided in the code A through K. And Planning Commission recommended approval of the tattoo parlor with the conditions that are outlined in the staff report. And the applicant's here to answer any questions, and so is staff.
Questions, council?
This would be specific to the unit.
Yeah, it'd be
And then
specific
if-
to this unit.
And if they leave, does it carry on?
They have one year, and so as long as it maintains within 1 year, then they can continue.
Perfect.
Other questions?
Yeah, part of that, under the police department, on the second page, said that in 2010, the St. George Police Department researched that for the previous 10 years. There were no incidents. Just, does that carry over, Chief, into this 2018? No incidents occurring? Well, if you haven't heard of any, that's probably because there's not too much activity taking place there. It would be detrimental to it, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So this is a request for a conditional use permit. Ready for a motion if you are, council?
I will make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow a tattoo shop to be operated at 344 East Sunland Drive, Unit 7B.
Second.
We have a motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7.
Mayor, the next 6 items are final plats and preliminary plats, and so Wes will take us through these.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is one of you Garrison? Oh, okay. I just
Good luck
figured
to
that,
you.
you know.
Yep. Thank you. Hard work? Oh, heart. Oh, you want a tattoo of it? Okay.
Just a little heart right
All right.
Tell you,
All
all
right.
kinds of things are happening over here.
All right, Wes, you better proceed.
Okay, I'll try and hurry.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item is a request to consider approval of a 3-lot residential subdivision final plat called Meadow Valley Farms Phase 10A. Representative is Development Solutions. Property is located on the south side of 3970 South Street and west of Bentley Road. Zone is RE20. All aspects of this final plat reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So if you look right here in your vicinity map, here is the Fort Pierce wash right here. Commerce Drive would sit about right there when it gets built. And then here is Bentley Drive. And so it's these 3 lots located right there.
Questions on these, council?
No, Mayor, I make a motion that we approve this Meadow Valley Farms phase and take particular note of the 20,000 square foot size lots.
Second.
Motion by Ed to approve this final plat for Meadow Valley Farms Phase 10A. Second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Beautiful lots.
Yeah.
The next item is a request to consider approval of an 8-lot residential subdivision final plat called Meadows Edge Phase 2. Representative is Development Solutions. Again, the property is located on the north side of 3970 South and west of Bentley Road. Zone is RH20. All aspects of these final plats, this final plat was reviewed by staff and meets the condition of preliminary plat. So the last 3 lots that we did were right here that you approved. So these lots are just north and then right here. And so this is the road, Quarry Drive, that will extend from Commerce ultimately all the way up to Horseman Park Road. It's coming fast.
Questions on this one, council?
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Meadows Edge Phase 2.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item is request to consider a 2-unit condominium plat, final plat called Red Cliffs Condominium. The representative is Mike Draper from Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at 324 North, 1680 East. Zone is all R3. All aspects of this condominium final plat were reviewed by staff. So this is an existing building by itself right now. What they're proposing to do is create 2 units inside of it. This would be Unit 1 with Unit 2, limited common area on the parking, and then the rest of it would be common area. They also would have this little area within the subdivision or within the building where you would have, I believe, an easement right here in that area. So it's just to create 2 units for separate ownership within that building.
Any questions for Wes on this, council?
Motion to approve the condominium plat for Red Cliffs condominiums.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item is a request to consider approval of a 22-lot residential subdivision final plat called Desert Point Subdivision. Representative is Development Solutions. Property is located off Desert Point Drive at approximately 3600 East and 6300 South. Zone is R110. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is that plat we brought to you last meeting where we amended the preliminary plat and added that lot right there. So these 2 lots we'll have to make sure that we address, as they both will share access from that same staff. So we'll have to address that with the plat. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Questions, council?
Motion to approve the final plat for Desert Point subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Anything, Adam? Just checking it out, okay.
Sideways.
Yeah, I know. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 90-unit residential subdivision called Black Hawk Townhomes. Site is located approximately at 1060 West, Curly Hollow Drive. Number of units is 90. Density is 9 dwelling units an acre. Zone is R3. General plan is MDR. The applicant is Black Hawk Townhomes, Representative Rosenberg Associates. You saw this recently, I believe, last meeting.
These guys are trouble.
They are trouble. And so this is the plat that you saw before. This is on city property, the entire road that provides access in for that second access. So we've worked out where the city will dedicate that as a road, and then they'll improve the entire road up to this point right there. So the city giving the land, them doing the improvements. They've also indicated that, because Parks had requested this possibly being dedicated to the city for their future park expansion, they did not see any reason why they couldn't do that if the Parks needs that. So that possibly may be dedicated over to the city for their future park expansion. And then we're working with them as far as water department's requested maybe another water line connection over here to loop the water system within, and so be subject to resolving that concern.
There's no short-term rentals in there.
No.
Just want to.
No short-term rentals is what Ed just said, yep.
Yeah,
Right.
Just want to hear it.
Yep, that's what I believe Dennis Garr said when he was here last time. Is that
Right.
correct, Alan? Yep.
What, isn't that in the area where, in the overlay?
It's not.
Okay.
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Black Hawk Townhomes. I never can say it right.
Second.
Have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Now they're all going to get up and leave. We just clear the room.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
We're
As the
good
night
at that.
goes,
That motion carries
You're
unanimously.
still here, Doug. We appreciate it.
Doug's still here. Thank you, Alan. Thanks to, and Rosenberg, thank you for your work on it. That's a good, we talked about it last time. It's a good type of housing. We know we need it in our community. Thank you.
You
We know you will.
Mayor, speaking of who's here, Mr. Harmon is here. He's been in the construction business, I believe. He just wants to see how the city council operates and how things are going.
What do you think so far? Well said.
Is that good or
Yeah,
bad?
well said. Okay, next.
Okay, the next item is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a
See?
Yes,
It's
I know.
hard.
It is hard. It's a tongue twister. A preliminary plat for a 5-lot residential subdivision called Maple Estates Phase 5. Site is located at the intersection of Bandit Hills Drive and Copper Cliffs Drive, or 3000 East. Property is 2.07 acres for a density of 2.4 dwelling units, and acre zone is R110. General plan shows this is LDR. The applicant is Development Solutions Group. So I'll just kind of pan out a little bit and show you where this is at. So this is Bandit Hills Drive right here that goes up to the airport, and then this is 3000 East right here. One of the things this will be subject to is there's a trail along 3000 East that comes to a point right here, and then there's a trail crossing here that then takes you up and get over to here, and then there's a trail along the backside of these lots. And then this trail along this side will also extend up here. So here's the pump station right there at the base of the hill. And then this trail will extend up to here into like a little alcove that could possibly be a natural park in the future. And then there's also a possibility of a natural park right over in this area here too. And so that's where the trail. So we're just trying to work out the alignment of the trail, whether it comes through this detention basin or whether it stays on 3000 East and then comes up this way and this way. So it'll be
Potential that someday there may be a tunnel under there or what?
right here. Yeah, that's the possible tunnel underneath there to get residents from the west side to the east side, which would come out on that trail right there.
That's 3,000, right?
Yes. This is 3000 right here. Yeah.
That's why, because that's a busy road.
And there will be no, right now there's no planned signals along this stretch of the road, and so there's really nowhere for them to cross, and that's why they've proposed doing a tunnel underneath there.
That isn't part of this proposal.
No, that's not. It's just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots. It's just that we're trying to work out the alignment of the trail, whether it comes through here or through this area here and then up. So we just subject to working that out. The other condition is they'll have to run a new water line from the pump station. This area down here has low pressure, and so they'll have to hook on to here and provide a water line that comes down and serves this way and this way that will be on a different pressure zone than the rest of this area here to provide the pressure that they need.
Wes, is this close to where we were Wednesday with the Hillside
Yes,
Board
so-
review for the 11 homes?
Correct. That sits right up in this area here, so
And-
it's just right up above here.
And that water tank that they're going to put up there is going to feed this too, or?
I don't think so. I think it's going to come off that line right here that goes up
That's
to
a
the,
separate
that
line?
pressurizes the tank, and so it'll be on that pressure zone.
Okay.
Yep. And then just one thing on the plat is, originally they had proposed doing, a sidewalk and then a 10-foot landscape strip with a retaining wall and a 3-foot area. We've told them that staff wouldn't, didn't agree with that because then you're creating a no man's area. So we're still working out how to get that area here so that you get rid of the wall and how to work that out as far as, and it's really created by an elevation difference between the road and those lots. So we're still subject to that working out between staff and them.
Feel like we can do that between now and final plat?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Any other questions or ready for a motion if you're so inclined, council?
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Maple Estates Phase 5.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, he really did get through those, didn't he?
He
So
did.
these next two items you're going to see multiple times, particularly in the RDA agenda. But we have two different items here. One is for the Central Business District CDA, and the other is for the Mill Creek CDA. And what's happened here is for both of these, we had an interlocal agreement that was approved with the base year as 2016, but the taxable value that went in was 2015. And so this is to approve a memorandum of understanding to amend those interlocals and have the tax year, the base tax year value actually be the 2016 values that we wanted it to be. Deanna's here. She can answer any questions if you have any, but we will see these multiple times here on the next agenda as well.
We're on number 13, right?
Correct. Yes, number 13.
So where that basis is higher, I'm assuming the other parties are okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes it an
it's
easier
actually to
fix.
their advantage for the other taxing entities to have a higher base. That means they'll get more back
Right.
in their regular tax, and will forego less as part of the districts over the
Right.
15-year period.
Gotcha.
Right. So-
Any questions? This was Deanna's catch. Thank you, Deanna, because it's important to have these things right. So now we're going through the process required to fix it. So if there are no questions,
I'll go ahead and make a motion, Mayor, that we approve the amendment to the memorandum of understanding between the City of St. George and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George.
Second.
motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion?
Do we have to identify which one it is? The
Yes, would you
Central
identify?
Business District Community Development?
Yeah, this one is the CBD, Central Business District, CDA.
Mhm.
So noted, and that's okay?
Yes.
for both of
Sorry.
you? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Same thing on 14.
But for Mill Creek.
But for Mill Creek.
That's correct. It's for Mill Creek.
Motion to approve the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of St. George and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Mill Creek Community Development Area.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle and the second. Joe, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And it looks like we just have minutes.
Got some minutes. Yep.
Motion to approve the minutes for March 8th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say
Hey.
nay.
Did our city manager say we could do these all together? Did we discuss that? What did we decide?
We can if we notice them as a consent agenda. We haven't done that.
Okay, I got you.
So right now, technically, we got to do them individually. Motion carries unanimously, but I'm ready for 16.
Motion to approve the minutes for March 15th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of March 22nd, 2018.
Second.
We just switched. Motion by Michelle, second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Minutes for April 12th, 2018. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Jimmy with a
Second.
second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries
Mayor,
unanimously.
these kids are too fast for Joe and me.
They're
over
speedy,
here,
aren't
you know?
they?
We paused for like
Huh?
a few seconds waiting for you two to
Drum
jump
roll.
I don't,
Oh, dear.
sounds, she said, oh dear.
She said, "Oh dear."
You'll get there.
Oh
one
dear.
day.
So now, I don't have any appointments.
I thought she said cold beer.
Cold beer.
Yeah.
That was a couple of things ago.
Go along with my tattoo.
Tattoo, yeah. Ed is going to give me from the staff, hopefully we'll have a few suggestions for the Hillside.
I mentioned to John, and he
Good.
made note to get that
Okay,
information
good.
to you, Mayor.
So hopefully next time for Hillside Board. And then let's go to, I guess we have the addendum, don't we?
We do. It's just the one item. It's a hangar lease agreement with the Claim Aeronautica LLC. It is our standard hangar lease agreement. We would recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by, we'll give Jimmy the second, close second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Looks like we do.
sets of minutes.
We have a couple other sets of minutes. Number 2 on the addendum.
Second.
Perfect. Motion by Joe with a second by Ed. Any discussion, or any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. We do have one more set of minutes for January 4th, 2018.
I would move that we approve the minutes from the meeting held on January 4th, 2018.
Second.
We have a motion by Joe and a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Now, we need to, well, let me ask this. I don't believe we need a closed meeting, do we?
No, we don't.
So let me ask if there are any reports from council members or the city manager or city attorney. We do need to go to the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency meeting. We'll go there in a minute, but I'd like to finish up everything on here if we have anything. Any reports? We had a DTEC meeting, MPO meeting, but you kind of already heard the gist of that. We're going to talk about that.
We did hold a soup and bowl, and the museum board met yesterday, and it was a financially successful event. And
I got 2 bowls out of that deal. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'd like to, in the future, to encourage more businesses to become sponsors and then to allow their employees to come over for soup, for lunch. We think that would be a cohesive thing for our downtown merchants, and so next year maybe we could encourage more businesses to do that. And they're holding events every Thursday. Unfortunately, we cannot be there, but they've got speakers, readings, and just a lot of wonderful things for the community to take advantage of. That's it.
Jimmy, anything? Michelle?
We had the Doctors Volunteer Clinic Gala on Saturday night, and I think when the numbers come in, they will have raised more this year than ever before. Doug, you can help me out because he's on that board also. Didn't it say they've seen over 13,000 patients this year?
Sure.
At
Visits.
Visits at $34 a visit is what they
34, I
can
remember.
keep those.
That's the lowest.
The lowest in the state.
It's fulfilling a very needed
And
role.
I thought the biggest in the state. They made that statement that
Well,
they
and-
see more patients.
And mental health just keeps climbing each year.
It's almost 50%.
Yeah.
You know
So
why
it's
they
important.
you know why they raised so much more? Because it's been many years I've been going. It's the first time I've missed in several years, and they raised more money. So I'm gonna quit
What's
going.
the
I guess.
message? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have to get up and sing. And that's when everybody left.
We had more
sang.
singers this year
Yeah.
than ever before.
Did you get up and sing with the mayor?
Senator
Yes, we did.
Ibsen,
Ibsen.
Brad
Last.
Last,
They sang with you guys.
yes,
See, you raised
Zach
more money.
Zach
Renstrom,
Renstrom,
Dean
Dean
Cox,
Cox.
me and Betty, the
I've been
mayor.
replaced.
It was powerful.
Awesome.
It was an emotional experience.
Hey, it is the reason they raised so much money this year.
It's
I'm sure.
President Nadal used to say it's a semi-religious experience. Anyway, excellent. Thanks for your participation on that board. You too, Deb.
And shade tree met this week, and we're still trying to keep people from chopping down trees.
Lost a few on Riverside Apartments.
Yep, we did.
I don't know what we do there.
We
Big,
are
nice shade
hoping
trees.
legal will make them replant them.
Big.
And so far I haven't heard anybody come to legal on that, so I don't know if the.
We will.
Okay.
Let's
so
ask
have you
him
talked to
first.
Shane Moore to document everything and.
Will you do
get
that?
this? I will do that.
Because they did. They took some were dying.
He was at the meeting, or was he on vacation?
He was at the meeting. And John Willis comes to the meeting now all the time, which is awesome because it's really helping between landscaping plans and all the,
Good.
yeah. So that's all I have.
Joe? Nothing this time. Ed?
No, I already reported to you, Mayor, that on April 18th, Wednesday, the hillside development permit was passed forward to move on to Bandit Hills for another 11 lots up there.
Hey, just a thought for the dinosaur museum.
Yeah.
Right around the corner has a really cool dinosaur. You might want to check it out. Tim Little's piece, right? I think it needs a different name. Widowmaker's not my favorite name. This artist died right after he finished this, and and she was here with some other family members Friday night.
It'd be lovely if they'd buy it.
Yeah, anyway, something we ought to point out to them.
Okay.
Mayor, I totally blew it.
Spider.
Spider, what do you think? Who likes the spider? Raise your
I
hand.
love
It's kind
it.
of creepy, but it's cool.
It's creepy, but it's cool. Don't
I
you
was
love
a little
underneath it?
nervous. Melissa Anderson did a
She
fantastic
did.
job of making a video. KSL picked it up, several news stations up north, and I understand some even out of state, because it was so fun. She made it sound like the spiders were taking over our city.
St. George, yeah.
I totally blew it, Mayor, in my report, and earlier when you were talking about why the meeting was canceled next week, it's not really for
I
the
know.
League of Cities.
It's the other thing.
It's for the Dixie Junior Livestock
Livestock.
Show, which is next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the fairgrounds. And if you want to see something really fun, you got a bunch of kids over there showing pigs, lambs, and steers. The Hughes family will actually have 4 over 1,200-pound steers being shown by my younger kids, so it's kind of awesome.
Take pictures. will
Hopefully
ya?
no one gets killed.
Yeah, take pictures, Jimmy.
I will.
We wanna see
I'll
those.
post them all over.
How
so.
many kids participate in that?
I know there's 90 something steers. There's 130 some odd. You can only show one animal, pigs, and 50 some odd lambs.
Wow.
Participation is still very high.
And there's even some city kids that go and do it because they have neighbors like us that kind of suck them in to
Good.
do it. So
Yeah.
they get to learn about agriculture and where your food comes from. And like Charlotte's Web says, they learn the hard facts of farm life because there are a lot of tears on Saturday when the animals get sold and head off to a very
Other farms.
a green
part.
pasture where they're going to live out their lives in. That's what I tell my kids.
Yeah.
And you know, Mayor, I had occasion to talk to a father whose son was there and sold his cow that he'd raised over 500 pounds, Jimmy, and he was just excited and so happy for his son. His son was happy about it. It's great to see that.
We have a lot of buyers, business people in the community that come and pay a premium for that beef and
To
pork
put 'em
and
out to-
lamb.
to
Yeah,
pasture.
to put them out into pasture, and it's very good community support. They're going to be giving out, I can't remember how many scholarships. My daughter is a senior this year. She's going to get a $750 scholarship as part of that. She's been doing it since she was 9 years old, and this is her last year. There's going to be some tears there. So, anyways, fun, lots of fun. Come out if you have some time.
Out at the fairgrounds.
In the big barn.
When
So.
you see Dave Gusty showed up with the group from Dixie High School, and they've been involved in that for years, and it's a terrific, positive thing.
4-H kids and FFA kids, that's Future Farmers of America. They're all. it's a big-
And
pretty
those are
program.
good kids. We had the FFA kids come to our meeting here a couple weeks ago, didn't we? So
As long as I don't have to judge the microwave brownies or the microwave snickerdoodles, I will come to the fairgrounds. Horrible.
Awesome.
Absolutely horrible. Oh, no, that's a piece of cake compared to, I judged the Utah State Fair 4-H microwave those cookies and couldn't eat a cookie for probably 10 years.
One other thing to mention, again, Art Around the Corner did a great job. There are at least 22, maybe 21 of the 24 sculptures are placed. So a couple that couldn't make it down, last weekend. But we have fantastic volunteers and city personnel who help make all that happen. They all get welded in place, on these bases that have been the city's provided. It's just, and I can tell you, and Joe, you were able to be there. The artists really appreciate it. I passed you around. Hopefully, y'all got to read that note from the artist, one of the artists whose sculpture we bought. I think it was Dan Toon, wasn't it?
It was Dan Toon.
He was there and just so appreciative. It's really cool. And some of these, like like the livestock business, some of these, they're generations involved. You know, there's trying to remember which artist, Sean, because you would know him from your previous days on that. Dan's son does now. Josh, right? And then there's that other one, Matt Clark's son. It's really cool, kind of the aspiring young artists, and there were 3, weren't there, that they recognized, and then the other one that is it Frank Johansson. That's you got father and a son there, and then you've got another one that's the mom, the dad, and a son, and he was one of the junior ones too. So anyway, it's neat, and many of them are Utah artists, but there are some obviously from out of state, and they just love it.
And you know, Mayor, the recognition and giving them the attention that they need, because not all of these artists get to sell everything that they
Right.
present. And so the support that the city does give them and the recognition that they need to have for participating, that's what keeps it going and makes it so good.
Yeah.
And Mayor, did you see the pedestal that they got for the Gardner statue?
Yes.
They did a great job.
wonderful.
And we worked with the bank to get that
Wells
easement
Fargo.
for them.
It's been there for a little while now, but
It's
looks
been on the ground, and now they've got that pedestal done with the landscaping around it.
and we've
so it
got a
looks really
couple
good.
of new ones that are kind of like that. So we're kind of up in our game as we can, and they're going to sign them all. The ones that are permanent ones. I'm holding out hope for that.
That we could have a design, which is what, I'm no longer on the board after, 10, 12 years, but one of our goals was to get permanent, good-looking
Signage,
pedestals.
pedestals,
That
and
we
yeah.
know are, because we did those as you know, as kind of temporary to get it going, but now that they've been so successful over the years, I think
Yeah.
Betty would agree, it would look good to have those permanent pedestals in.
It is, and we have purchased 40.
Wow.
In various places throughout the city.
Over the last 14 years.
14 years, and we have them in places like the Children's Justice Center. We have little Hurricane Hawker, which is a cute little dog that, those children can come and look at, and various other places. And they've got other exciting venues for these art.
At the Arts Festival, everybody was getting pictures by the guitar.
Yeah.
Same artist as the spider.
And now the same thing's happening at the Spider.
I think in October,
In a roundabout.
we need to make sure that like the parks employees or something put some cool spider webs by that spider and
Good idea.
And some
maybe
lighting.
some orange lights and,
Yeah.
yeah, for the whole month. It'd be cool.
We could get creative there.
Yes,
Well,
you
with
could.
the walkway design that we're doing now for the City View,
Yeah.
it would be a good place to get some permanent
Art.
pedestals in
And they're
there.
talking about that. That's one of their.
We were designing it right now, so we'll need to have the Parks Department do it.
Yeah.
I agree. One last thing on reports. Miss St. George pageant was last night. Some of you have been to that before. You've been to it a lot. They did a really good job. It was in the Electric Theater. Very well done. 5 judges, I believe. 4 or 5 judges. I think it was 5. And I will have them come maybe to the next regular meeting, introduce them to you. And I want to have the outgoing Miss Congeniality, McKenna Fields. Were you there, Doug? She did the most powerful thing. She recited, if you will, something that she wrote on, and it was regarding Special Needs Mutual for her church, and it was the most powerful thing of the evening. So I've asked her if she would come and tell us that.
Okay.
It is really incredible and very short, but just very powerful. Don't you agree, Doug? It was incredible. Yeah, there were 13 contestants last night, and all of them were so beautiful and wonderfully talented, and it's just tough to choose 4 in this case, and a couple other awards that the directors give. But I just wanted you to know that there's a little bit of city funds that go into that. It's quite a little amount for the production, and then a total of $2,000 for the scholarships. the winner, Miss St. George, and I can't remember her name, I can't remember. Anyway, they'll all come. She'll get 1,000. The two runners up get 500, and that's it. And then there's some costs, roughly $1,000, $1,500. Does that sound right for the pageant? Yeah, and they get sponsorships for more. And I just want you to know they do a good job. And while this might seem kind of old-fashioned, it's still a big deal in our county, and the young ladies appreciate it. And it's much more than just a beauty pageant. They've gotten much more into the to the talent side of it, and I think they have to work pretty hard. They have to do at least 10 hours of service to even qualify, and so that's before. And the judges interview them all. They spend a lot of time preparing. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, I need a motion to go into the a regular meeting of the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George.
So moved.
Mayor,
Yes,
if
sir.
you're done with the regular meeting, you can just go ahead and adjourn the regular
That's
meeting.
what I really want to do.
And then convene.
That's what I want to do. So a motion to adjourn from a regular St. George City Council meeting and go into the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency.
So moved.
Motion by Betty.
Second.
Second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. We are now in the regular meeting of the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency. Okay.
There's no excuse for you.
Okay.
All right, Adam.
Okay, Mayor, as with the general fund, we have a number of amendments to the FY18 budget that are proposed for the RDA, and so Deanna will go through those with us. And you've been given a hard copy.
Yep.
Yeah, there's only a couple, and they are mainly because revenues have come in a little bit higher. We're projecting them to come in higher than we budgeted. And with the RDA, we have some items that the expenses are based upon a percentage of the revenues. So when we increase the revenues, I've got to increase some of those other items that are a percentage of the revenues. So the first one is for the Fort Pierce EDA number 1, and we are projecting that the revenues will come in $20,000 higher. So we're asking for an increase in professional and tech services for $1,000, distribution to taxing agencies, an increase there for $10,500, and a transfer to other funds for $14,075. And then interest earnings is also going to increase, and so as part of that, we will transfer 20% of that increase in revenues, roughly $14,000 to the housing fund, and the offset there is to the appropriated fund balance for the housing fund. We just have to balance these things out. That's just an accounting entry. The second one is for the Fort Pierce EDA number 2. And actually, I did have enough revenue in there. We just had a few other items that came along with that. The professional and tech services, $1,000 increase. Distributions to taxing agencies, $11,750. Transfers to other funds, $16,000. And then there's a transfer, incoming transfer to the housing fund for the $16,000. And those are the only two RDA budgets right now that we need to increase before the end of the year.
Questions, council? Okay, then I'm going to open the public hearing for anyone in this vast audience who may have come to offer input on this item. No, Doug? Oh, all right. I'll close the, Judy, Keith? No? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action on this item 1. This is a resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution amending the fiscal year 2017-18 budget.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 2 is the agreement with RAMPRO. This is one that we've already discussed previously, but this is the RDA side of that.
Okay. Aware of this before. Let's see, we do not need a public hearing on this. Ready for a motion if you are, council?
Move to approve an incentive agreement between the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency, the City of St. George, and Ram Pro LC.
Second.
Motion by Betty with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor of this resolution, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Nice. Okay. Motion carries.
Let me give you a quick overview of the remaining items. What we have here are the memorandums of understanding that we discussed previously. 3 and 4 are for the city and the RDA. 5 and 6 are for the county. 7 and 8 are the water district. 9 and 10 are the school district. So if that helps make sense of the items, but staff would recommend approval of all of these.
Do we have to go through each one?
Since they're listed separately, I would recommend that we do.
Okay.
So, if you'll just differentiate as we make these motions, but I would be ready for a motion on item 3.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the MOU to amend the ICA between the city of SG and the RDA.
CDA.
In the CBD.
For the
For the CDA.
Second.
Did I get that correct?
You did. He got it. He nailed it.
Morse code.
Okay, there was a motion.
ASAP.
ASAP. Okay.
Second.
There was a motion by Jimmy made and a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item 4.
Motion to approve the MOU approval of the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of St. George and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Mill Creek Community Development Area.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item 5.
Motion to approve the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Washington County and the redevelopment agent of the city of St. George for the RDA for the CDA.
Second.
CBD for the CDA, yeah.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jimmy, and the first second was by Betty. So any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Approval of the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between Washington County and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Mill Creek Community Development Area.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. 7.
Motion to approve the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Washington County Water Conservancy District and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Central Business District Community Development Area.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, very clear. Motion by Jimmy and second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Number 8.
Approval of the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Washington County Water Conservancy District and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Mill Creek Community Development Area.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 9.
Motion to approve the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Washington County School District and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the CDA.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Number 10.
Motion to approve the MOU to amend the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Washington County School District and the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George for the Mill Creek Community Development Area.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We do have a set of minutes from June 15th, 2017. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. One other set of minutes for October 19th, 2017. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Do I have a motion to adjourn from the regular meeting
So moved.
of the RDA?
Second.
I have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty. Any discussion? Adam, do you have any
I
discussion?
was just going to say, on this agenda, items 2 through 12 would have been perfect for a consent agenda. Would you like to see us give that a try with some of these? Okay.
And the
I just-
minutes on them, yes.
Okay, we will do that. Thank you.
Very good. All in favor of the motion on the minutes of October 19th, 2017, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We did that
Did we?
already.
Yeah,
No,
we
because
did.
I said discussion. Oh, sorry.
No,
It was
we
the adjourning. It was the adjourning, sorry.
Second.
Yeah, I'm already over there.
Aye.
But we're all in favor of adjourning.
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned from both meetings. You can go home.
Excellent.